Can we have a chat?
Yeah, we can have a chat here, can't we?
Yeah, we can.
Alright, cool. So all I've done today is make some video footage, and I've stuck to everywhere that I'm allowed, apart from apparently Amazon, where I wasn't allowed to step on their site.
And who's allowed you permission on the site?
No one's allowed me permission. This is all public, bro. Don't treat me like I'm silly. Yeah, I do this a lot.
You just said...
Again, identify for me as well, please. Before you do.
You do.
Okay, what's yours as well, please?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Have you told me that your body-worn camera's on? No, you haven't. That's part of your policy. You can clearly see that I'm filming, bro.
Okay, and you can clearly see that that's...
No, I can now.
I don't have to notify you.
You do. It's part of your policy.
No, it's not.
It's part of your policy. This has been proven before that it's part of your policy.
Stop. You just stated that you have been allowed... No,
I don't have to stop.
I'm trying to ascertain what's
I don't have to... Listen, bro, I don't want to interrupt you, but to be honest, I don't want to speak to you, yeah? I'm going about doing my civil right. I'm allowed to go around and film in public areas.
Allowed. Who has allowed you?
My rights as a human being in this country.
And they have a right to know who is filming or taking photographic images of the building.
This is one of those encounters that starts off sounding simple, but quickly turns into a masterclass in confusion, escalation, and questionable policing. You've got a man calmly filming in public, something that happens every single day, and yet within seconds he's being challenged, questioned, and pushed to justify something that may not even require justification. On the other side, you've got officers arriving already suspicious, already assuming something must be wrong. And that's where things begin to spiral, because instead of starting with facts, this interaction starts with assumptions. What follows is a clash between someone who clearly knows his rights and someone who appears determined to override them. And as this unfolds, watch closely, because the key moments aren't just what's said, but what's misunderstood, misapplied, and at times completely
aren't there. Yeah, which is no. Listen, no, I'm not saying that you are. You're trying to tell me though.
You're not telling me what has happened. You're just saying you're doing your civil right. Doing what? Taking images.
Filming the building.
What,
the building. Amazon. Look at this place. It's huge.
I know it's huge, but why? What's the reason why?
Because I like to. I don't have to tell you that.
No, I'm just trying to understand why.
But I know. But I'm going to stick to. I don't have to tell you that. And that's, you can say that being as awkward.
How am I supposed to ascertain what's happening?
You don't have to ascertain anything until I've committed the
I've had an incident that's been called.
Have I committed an illegal offence?
Well, as far as what we've heard on the call is that there's been swearing and shouting, so I need to know who that's been coming from.
Those down there, and the video's got it to prove it.
Right, and can you show me that?
Yes, I can.
Because if you're involved in that and you've been shouting and swearing, that is an offence. That is something I need to ascertain what has happened.
Of course. Hey, you know this camera? You see this camera? It's an independent witness. Yeah, so that's another reason I film, because when stuff like this happens, yeah, when people try and say stuff happened that didn't happen, we can now go back to this footage and see, can't we?
What we've heard on the call is that there's been lots of shouting and swearing going on.
Right,
so we need to ascertain what that's in relation to. So if people, that's called public order.
Right here, the narrative is already being framed, and not in a neutral way. Notice how the situation is described as something that turned into a big problem, but the real question is, who actually escalated it? The cameraman is standing in public filming, which by itself isn't unusual or illegal. But instead of curiosity or calm communication, what we see is irritation from bystanders and immediate suspicion from the police. This is a classic example of how perception shapes reality. Someone sees a camera, feels uncomfortable, and suddenly that discomfort becomes treated like a potential crime. But here's the thing. Feeling uneasy doesn't automatically mean something unlawful is happening. So ask yourself, are we watching a real incident unfold?
I understand why, because
I don't have to. Because I don't have to.
No, but I have to ascertain what's happened.
Yeah, but I don't have to still tell you, bro. This is what I'm like, until I commit an offence.
Okay.
Yeah? And you're saying a public order offence, yeah?
An offence has been committed.
Where is the person that feels harassed, alarmed and distressed? Where are they? Who are they? You have to have a complainant. Where's the complainant?
No, it doesn't.
Where's the complainant?
No, it has to be an assumed person. A person
okay,
of
so
reasonable firmness. You think you know your legislation, but if you do, then
that's all you guys want to deal with is legislation. What about what you swore to when you took up your job? Wasn't that under common law? Most of that's under common law, isn't it?
That wasn't under common law.
I don't care. You guys still swear by it.
There are other pieces of legislation.
I know
that. Not swear by common law. There are other pieces of legislation that we swear by.
Okay.
I'm still trying to ascertain what has happened. Now, what I'm saying.
And I've told you what's happened is I've done some filming and they haven't liked it.
And I'm telling you, we are aware that a public order incident has taken place.
No, how are you then? So who was it by?
So I don't know that. I'm trying to ascertain that from yourself. You are reported to be involved. I've come here. I'm trying to ask you what has happened. Now,
so how do you know that one's taken place? If you don't know who done it...
We can hear it on the call.
No one at the time. And that you're now lying. You're lying because I was filming at the time when that call apparently would have come through.
You've just said on your
No, yeah, I've caught that I haven't. No, it would have been...
Where confidence starts replacing correctness. The officer speaks as if permission is required to film in public, which sounds authoritative, but that doesn't make it true. And this is something that trips a lot of people up. When someone in uniform says something with certainty, most people don't question it. But the cameraman does, and that's where the tension builds. Because now it's no longer just a conversation, it's a challenge. Add to that the issue of the body-worn camera, where the officer appears to ignore his own procedural expectations while holding the public to standards that don't exist. That contradiction is subtle but powerful. It tells you everything about the dynamic of this
Even this footage now, I don't have to, but I will. I will, just because I can't wait to prove you wrong.
Showing me anything to the contrary.
Okay. Also, I want to know that hang on, before I show you anything.
A public order offence has been committed.
Right.
We can hear it on the phone call. Swearing and stuff is taking place in public. Now you're saying you can prove that it's not you because you have video.
And if it proves that it's them, are you going to go and deal with that?
I'm going to go have a chat with them afterwards.
Straight up, because I'll be following you to make sure that you do follow it up. Because I know how this works. If I'm swearing in here, you're going to deal with that. But if it comes back that they're swearing in it, you won't deal with that. I ain't stupid. To be honest, I want to go about my business. Am I detained? Am I detained? Am I detained?
I just need to know what's happening.
Yeah, and I'm asking, am I detained? So I'm free to go. Am I free to go?
Well, I need to confirm your identity, so that's...
You don't need to confirm my identity. I don't have to give it you till till an offence has been committed. I do not have to give it you.
An offence has been committed?
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. You turning up and saying an offence has been committed doesn't mean one's been committed. No, it hasn't.
Been committed, and you've just confirmed it by saying you've got footage of it on your phone.
Oh, wow.
You've literally just confirmed by saying I've got footage of that offence happening.
Now we hit a critical turning point. The officer asks a very common question. Why are you filming? And on the surface that seems harmless. But here's where it gets interesting. The cameraman refuses to answer. Not aggressively, not evasively, just firmly. And that's completely within his rights. You are not obligated to explain yourself just because someone asks, even if that someone is a police officer. But watch how quickly that refusal is interpreted as awkward or suspicious. This is where many interactions escalate, because silence or refusal gets treated like guilt. So the question becomes, is the officer investigating behavior?
To him, bro, what you're doing now is a public order offence.
So potentially,
that's what I said to him. So you probably heard me say that on the call.
I also need your details if you are the victim of the public order
offence. But I don't. Public order offence. You think I'm going to have somebody in trouble for a public order offence? Come on, mate. Yeah.
It's just the issue becomes when you trespass. Obviously, that's a civil issue.
Of course.
And even more so if you're trying to get into buildings.
Of course.
So we just want to make sure that's not going to.
That's not going to happen. This guy seems to think he's going to. I don't know. You're not having my details. You're not having them. You're not having them. You might be able to take my mates.
To go over there and speak to them and take.
Don't. I've just told you I don't want you to.
Right, fine. Well, on your way then.
If I'm free to go, I'm free to stay. So I won't be going nowhere, sir. So stop, like, trying to talk down to me.
Stand here pointing that in my face.
Well, then disappear. You're the one that's approached me today, not the other way round. I don't have to. I don't have to. It's a public place, and it's up to you to make privacy in a public place. So if you'd like to make privacy, then I suggest you maybe get in your two shiny cars with flashy lights, right, and have a conversation. But I will stay here for as long as I want. Listen, if you were to listen,
I've been fair with people. I've been fair with you.
Bro, I don't. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You haven't been fair with me. This video will show that you haven't been fair with me. No, you haven't.
I've not been fair with you. I've just asked you nicely to go on your way.
No, on your way. I don't have to go on my way.
The justification shifts again. The officer claims he's simply trying to ascertain what happened. But if you rewind mentally, you'll notice something important. He didn't start there. He started with assumptions, then moved into accusations, and only now frames it as an investigation. That's backwards. And this is exactly why recording matters. Because without this footage, the narrative could easily be flipped. A claim of swearing, a suggestion of disorder. Suddenly it becomes one person's word against another's. But the camera doesn't forget. It captures everything, including inconsistencies. And those inconsistencies, the argument begins to fall apart under its own weight. The officer introduces the idea of a public order offense, but can't clearly identify who was affected. And that's not a small detail. That's the entire foundation of the allegation. If no one was harassed, alarmed, or distressed, then what exactly is being investigated? The cameraman's question is simple, direct, and completely fair. And instead of answering it, the officer sidesteps. That's a red flag. Because when a legal claim can't be clearly explained, it raises serious doubts about whether it exists at all. This is the moment where the balance of control starts to shift. Being a classic example of shifting logic. The officer avoids giving a clear answer about detention, instead focusing on identity. But those are two very different things. You can't just hold someone in place because you're not happy to let them go. That's not how legal authority works. There has to be a lawful basis. And what's happening here feels like the officer is working backwards, starting with the outcome he wants,